Hello, my friends. I hope you can hear me. Raise your hands or clap or whatever if you can hear me. So it's wonderful to be with all of you again. I am in a hotel near Phoenix, in a place called Savannah, where we have a health resort, and I'm doing an event here. And the arrangement in this room is not the best. So please bear with me. I hope you can see me clearly, hear me clearly. And I'm delighted again to be with you once a week around this time. And of course, it's all about mindful moments. And I'm here actually to answer any questions as well. So let me say a few things about what I'm up to these days. Then we can do a little meditation. And then, if you like, I can do some questions and answers. Let's see how it goes. Is that good? Please clap or. Okay. So, right now, Deepak, um, I'm 75 plus years old. My health is perfect. I mean, my biological markers are less than somebody who's 40 years of age. So I can say that it is possible to have the biology of youth and at the same time explore the wisdom that comes with longevity. So, one of the projects I'm involved with is called the Longevity Experiment, where we are actually doing experiments on people who aspire to live over the age of 100 in good health. If you're interested in that, you can check out longevity at choprafoundation.org. We're going to be doing lots of experiments on the nature of the physical body, the energetic body, the emotional body, the spiritual body, and how it relates in the matrix of interbeingness. And so, if you're interested, check out Longevity Experiment at chopra.org. Everything I'm doing these days is based on the understanding that we have aspects to our reality that we don't explore. So 99.9% of human behavior is basically one that you would not be able to tell human behavior from biological robots. We are bundles of conditioned reflexes and nerves that are constantly being triggered by people and circumstance into totally predictable outcomes. Somebody says something nice to you, you're happy. Somebody says something mean to you, you're offended for the rest of your life. And that's not a good way to live. So, as I explore the Eastern wisdom traditions that I'm a product of, and especially the traditions of yoga and meditation and reflection and inquiry and mindfulness, it becomes very clear that we have a repertoire of responses built into our biology that we don't use. So 99.9% of human behavior comes from basically two very basic security and survival responses. These are called the fight flight response, where in a threatening situation, we either fight or we run. And then there's something called the reactive response, which is an ego response that tries to manipulate situations, circumstances, people, and relationships through either being very nice and manipulative, or being nasty and manipulative, or being stubborn and manipulative, or being playing the victim and still being manipulative. So 99% of human behavior is these first two responses. In the Eastern wisdom traditions, we say the first two chakras. Chakras are junction points between consciousness and biology. Fight flight, of course, is primitive. A tiger is trying to eat you, so you either kill the tiger or you run. But then the reactive response is very interesting. It starts when we're about 3 or 4 years of age. Let's pretend you're a toddler and you're out with your mother and you're at the shopping mall and and you are having a good time, but suddenly you ask her for a lollipop, and she says, "No, I gave it to you yesterday. It's not good for you, or whatever. No lollipop today." What's the first thing you do as a toddler? You are very nice and manipulative. You say, "Mommy, I love you. I'll give you a kiss. Please buy me a lollipop." And if she doesn't, then the second thing most toddlers do is throw a tantrum. So from being nice and manipulative, they become nasty and manipulative. And if that doesn't work, then when the toddler and the mother come home and she can't find him or her in the closet, and she says, "Hey, Tommy, aren't you coming for breakfast or whatever?" He says, "Leave me alone. I don't want to talk to you." So he starts to become stubborn and withdrawn. Third response. And then, if nothing works, the little toddler says to its mother, "You love my brothers and sisters, you don't love me," plays the victim. By now, she's fed up, and the little brain thinks it works. So now starts to refine this whole reactivity that comes from the ego. Nice and manipulative, nasty and manipulative, stubborn and manipulative, and playing a victim and manipulative. Unfortunately, this is 99.999% of human behavior. So, those who break through this hypnosis of social conditioning, because that's all it is, these responses, have access to insight and intuition and creativity and vision and transcendence, and ultimately even figure out or get close to figuring out the nature of what is called fundamental reality and the universe, and then begin to participate or create their own reality. So, what's beyond the fight, flight, and the reactive response? The fourth response, the third response, is what we call restful awareness, which happens when we transcend to the source of thought. And we can do a meditation towards the end about that. Third response, restful awareness, which means just the simplest state of being without reactivity. You press the pause button and watch your reaction to react. I frequently use the stop formula, as I call it, when I feel reactive, which I don't these days, but if I were to, stop. S stands for stop. T, take 3 deep breaths, smile from your head to your toes. O, observe the sensations in your body or breath. And P, proceed with awareness and compassion. And that takes you to restful awareness. Or you can be aware of the space you're in, it'll take you to restful awareness. Or just observe your breath, it'll take you to restful awareness. Or just observe any sensation in your body, it'll take you to restful awareness. Or just observe an object without judging it, any sensory experience, sound, touch, sight, taste, smell, restful awareness. That's the third response. The fourth response is something called the intuitive response. When we ask a question or have an intention and then take it to restful awareness. So, very frequently, I do that. Before I go into meditation, if I have a question, should I be making this choice today or not? Should I engage in this relationship? Should I invest in this company? Should I embark on this project? If I ask that question and then go into restful awareness through meditation, that takes me into the fourth response, which is called the intuitive response. So, intuition is a form of intelligence that is contextual, that is relational, that is holistic, that doesn't have a win lose orientation, that eavesdrops on context, meaning, relationship, and has a deeper insight. You're kind of eavesdropping on a larger mind of interbeingness. So intuition goes beyond the logical mind, is actually much more accurate if you know how to harness the powers of intuition. What's after that? After the intuitive response is something called the creative response, where you create something that never existed before. Many of the new startup companies, new technologies are actually trying to harness the creative response. But most of the time, they're not successful because they're not actually harnessing creativity. They are not disruptive enough. They're just slightly improving what already exists out there. So, true creativity is new context, new meaning, new story, new relationship, and the emergence of something that never existed before. It's actually very disruptive. It cannot be harnessed through an algorithm or artificial intelligence. I have 9 steps to creativity that I can share with you in the future, but basically they include intended outcome, information gathering, information analysis, incubation, insight, and intuition, inspiration, integration, and incarnation, which means that true creativity is a death and a resurrection at the same time. Complete death and of the old paradigm and resurrection. Only those startups that are truly disruptive will ultimately be successful. The others become copycatters. So that's the way of the world. Creative response. What's after that? After that is something called the visionary response. And this is an archetypal response. You actually harness the symbolic representation of infinity as higher consciousness, archetypes, gods, goddesses, um, all the different deities of different religions are actually symbolic representations of our own self as it harnesses something that is beyond our personal imagination, but goes into the realm of collective imagination and even beyond. So that's called the visionary response. And that's what great leaders harness. Great leaders like, say, Martin Luther King Jr. I have a dream. The dream is archetypal. It represents an entire collective dream. And then, of course, beyond the visionary response is something called the sacred response. You don't have to do anything. Your presence changes the ecosystem you find yourself in. So, those are 7 ways of responding to the world in every situation. And what do? Fight, flight, reactive. And therefore, life ends up being very ordinary, banal, and meaningless. So, with that, I would like to share with you that today my definition of success is very simple. Success is uh, joy. If you don't have joy, you're not successful. Joy is the healthiest response to existence. Once again, joy is the healthiest response to existence. If you're not bamboozled or surprised by the fact that you exist, then our humanity remains incomplete. And if we make that the number one criteria for success, you come from joy, you hang out with people who are joyful to be with, and you create joy in the world, alleviate suffering, you're going to be successful. And therefore, let's extend that definition of success from joy to the progressive realization of worthy goals, the ability to have love and compassion, and always to be connected to your creative centers, these chakras that I'm talking about. We can expand on these in future discussions, elaborate on these in future discussions, but that's what success ultimately would be. Once again, joy, which includes gratitude, progressive realization of worthy goals, the ability to have love and compassion, and always connected to our centers of awareness with which we can expand our awareness. So, with that, I'd like to do a short meditation right now, and this will be about 5 minutes or about there, and then I can answer your questions. If that appeals to you, send me a signal. Okay, that appeals to you. Well, it looks like it does. Okay, so now, dear friends, wherever you are, Please sit comfortably. Keep your feet firmly on the ground. Uncross your legs. Keep your hands open in your lap. And right now, let's close our eyes and begin with a little bit of just observing, as usual, the breath. So observe the breath and just be aware of the breath. Even as you observe the breath, your mind will start to settle down. And just recognize that the observer of the breath is not the breath. You are the observer of the breath. And breath is an experience you're having. Similarly, you're never the experience you're having. You're always the observer of the experience you're having. Okay. So now just observe the breath. And then bring your awareness into your heart right here and mentally ask the question, who am I? What am I? Don't try to answer it. Just ask the question. There may be sensations, images, feelings, or thoughts that spontaneously come when you ask this question, or they may not. Ask the question, let go. You know the ancient prayer, ask and you shall receive. Who am I? What am I? Am I the changing body, or am I the awareness in which the changing body is an experience? Simply ask that. Am I the changing body, or am I the awareness in which the changing body is an experience? Go a little deeper. Am I the changing mind, or am I the awareness in which the changing mind is an experience? The answers will come to you. Am I my changing personalities? Do I have the same personality when I was 5 years, or teenager, or today, or tomorrow? Am I the changing personality, or am I the awareness in which the changing personality is an experience? Am I the experience of the world, which is also changing, or am I the awareness in which the world is a changing experience? Just a little reflection on this will expand your awareness, because it's obvious that we are awareness in which the body, mind, and the world is a changing experience. So if we get to be intimate with our true self, which is awareness, which never changes, and expand that, then we have access to what we call reality, including how we participate as a body, mind, and world changing experiences, but the same awareness. Now go a little deeper. What do I really want? What is my deepest desire? Again, don't try to answer the question. Just see what comes up silently. What is my deepest desire? What do I really want? Allowing any sensations, images, feelings, thoughts to spontaneously arise or not arise. Third question, what is my purpose? If I had all the money and all the time in the world, how would I express my uniqueness and who would benefit? That's the formula for success. What is my purpose? What is my calling? And finally, what am I grateful for? Gratitude opens the door to opportunities. So I would say live these questions again this week. And then as we progress, we'll explore what is fundamental reality at the level of what I call meta-human. This is one of my recent books, Meta-Human, Unleashing Your Infinite Potential. And I'm right now in the process of launching Meta-Human Adventures in the Metaverse through a new startup called Seva.love. Check it out. Cryptocurrencies, blockchains, meta-human adventures in creativity and transcendence. And actually creating new realities, first in the world of infinite possibilities of imagination, and then manifesting them out there in reality. So that's where my life is going right now. Meta-human adventures in the metaverse, waking up from the robotic mind. And this week, focus on 4 questions. Who am I? And then expand your awareness. What do I really want? What is my calling, my purpose, my dharma? And what am I grateful for? That'll open the door to abundance and success. I shall stop here, and I'm happy to answer any questions. I think Angie is here as a producer with me alongside, and uh, we're happy to answer questions for the next 10 minutes. Hi, Stephanie. I can't hear you.
Good morning, Deepak. Thank you so much for having me.
Okay, now I can hear you. Yes, go ahead.
Can't? Hello?
Yeah.
So sorry. So sorry. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I think that when I look around the world now, especially in politics, we suffer from a great deal of lower consciousness behavior and thinking. And I am wondering, Deepak, if there are some, nothing about this is simple perhaps, but simple steps towards practices that can help raise your consciousness, not just about self, but about others and how we behave with others, our interaction with others, because I feel like our world just needs to raise our collective consciousness.
Okay, so that's a great question. And you're right. Right now, there's polarization in politics, but there's polarization everywhere in the world: social injustice, economic injustice, racial injustice, gender injustice, violence against women, violence against children, violence against minorities, eco destruction, nuclear weapons, mechanized ways of death, poison in our food chain. If we sleepwalk like this and continue to sleepwalk like this, then certainly we are doomed to extinction. So we need a new solution. And you cannot do it by joining one side or the other. So there are many techniques for conflict resolution that include starting with respect, recognizing injustice, forgiving and asking for forgiveness, using emotional and spiritual intelligence, not being belligerent, respecting others, recognizing the fear. I have a whole range of techniques called nonviolent communication and also problem solving. And I'm engaged with many organizations globally in doing this. And we can bring this to our political world if we stop taking sides and actually say, instead of focusing on what's wrong, let's focus on how to bring the light of awareness. And the 7 responses I mentioned can solve any problem, but no problem can be solved at the level of consciousness at which it was created. It's insane to think that we can do that. So I appreciate your question, but I also think we need to harness our collective creativity and focus on what is called emergence. And social scientists talk about emergence when there's maximum diversity, shared vision, complementing each other's strengths, and spiritual and emotional bonding. You can solve any problem. I hope that we can do that through these mindful moments, at least begin to take a start. Okay, I'm going to accept
Thank
Laura
you.
DeView's request. Hi, Laura.
Good morning. Thank you for taking our questions. I really appreciate it. We're going into the holidays, and many of us are going to be around people who we haven't seen in a long time. And I know that myself, I've been trying myself to kind of get more in touch with my own inner channel and my own where I'm sitting, and I'm feeling pretty good about myself. But being around other people who are not in the same place emotionally, and I want to be able to leave my interaction with them feeling as good as I can be, but I also I don't want to feel selfish, and I want them to find their way to a place that might be more productive. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yes. By the way, I just wrote an article on challenges for the holiday season. And if you check out our app, Chopra Global, or just Chopra app, you'll see the article. It's available free of charge. Once again, it's Chopra app. And I wrote the article. It should be coming out this week about how to handle the holidays, exactly the question that you've asked. One thing I can suggest right now is because everybody comes to the holidays and everybody has some kind of trauma, not to relive the grievances of the past for you as well, even though you are in a more aware place. The second thing is there's something called nonviolent communication that begins with asking 4 questions of yourself. What am I observing? What are the facts? What am I feeling, as a result of this observation? Anxiety, fear, anger, whatever. Um, what do I need at 7 levels of response? And how do I request that? I can also ask another person the same question. What are you observing? What are you feeling? What do you need right this moment? And is there a way I can help you? And there's a lovely book on this called Nonviolent Communication by Marshall Rosenberg, who was a great person for conflict resolution. I would ask you to check it out. So thank you for that question. I'm taking Victoria's question now. Hi, Victoria.
Hello, thank you for having us. Welcome back. I often hear you speak about how there isn't any time shortage. And what I'm curious with your busy schedule, how do you stay in harmony with keeping to your schedule and not feeling like there's time shortage?
Okay, I've cultivated this over the years because when I was an intern and resident in medicine, I didn't have time sometimes to even sleep or brush my teeth, or, it was very, very stressful. And so I started to cultivate the best use of my energy. I call myself an energy miser, honestly. And that means I maximize the use of my energy. So, for example, I slept 8 hours last night. I monitor my sleep and I make sure I get 8 hours of sleep. I get 90 minutes of deep sleep, at least 90 minutes of dream sleep. I've cultivated the art of sleeping. And then during the day, when I start my day, I start with meditation and some yoga asanas, which I did this morning, and helps me adjust to the change in the time schedule right now. And then what I do is I divide my day into the following practices: focused work time, focused playtime, focused eating time, focused relationship time, and focused exercise time. You get the picture. So, whatever I do, I'm totally focused. And when you're totally focused, and that's what mindfulness is, strangely enough, there's no depletion of energy. In fact, if you want to ask somebody about their health, physical health, even emotional health, there's only one question you ask on a scale of 1 to 10. And I've done research on this through Gallup. On a scale of 1 to 10, how much energy do you have right now? So, 1 would be you don't want to get out of bed, life sucks. And 10 would be more than enough energy to do everything that you want. If you score 8, 9, and 10, you're healthy. If you score 6 and 7, you're struggling with some area of your life, whether it's sleep or managing stress or relationships or poor diet or not balancing your biological rhythms, or usually basically some emotional distress as a result of relationship or some unhealthy habit, addictive behavior. So 6 and 7, you're struggling. If you're less than 5 on energy, you're suffering and you probably have an illness. So we can go into this. There's all aspects of total well-being, but this is the most important. And then there's, of course, career well-being, social well-being, community well-being, financial well-being, ultimately spiritual well-being. So I hope I answered to some extent your question.
Yes, thank you. May I add one thing? Do you have one thing I may add?
Yes, please.
Last week, you suggested that we begin our meditation with smiling from our crown down to our toes.
Yes.
Not only did I love that, but I also ended my meditation with that. And I wanted to thank you for adding that to my meditation. That was
Now, thank you for bringing that up, because when you smile, the way I suggested, head to your toes, your neural networks change, your vagus nerve gets stimulated, you even change the activity of your genes. So, this is an amazing thing that actually I learned from His Holiness, the Dalai Lama. And actually, if you practice it once in a while, even when you're in front of a mirror, you'll see that your mood will change, but long-term inflammatory markers come down, gene expression changes, and we are now experimenting with VR, where we can take people who are otherwise emotionally challenged, look at their own self in a mirror and see what happens, and through VR show ultimately how neural networks are responding. So thank you for reminding me that you don't have to do it before meditation or after. You can stop anytime and smile from your head to your toes. So if there are no more questions, let's conclude today. I'll see you in a week. And let's see what we want to talk about in the future. We can go deeply into the nature of existence, but also longevity projects and also creativity, anything you want. I'll be thrilled to participate because, of course, I learn with these interactions as well. Thank you and have a wonderful day. Keep smiling, keep reaching for the stars, but keep your feet on the ground. Take care.